We are going to jump into lesson 36, and I'm actually going to attach a piece of paper, a blank one, so maybe you can discover the pattern on your own. It looks like this. I'm going to attach it if you want to print it or just pull it up on Notability and see if you can find the pattern. It'll help you with these special right triangles. So there are two special right triangles, and we memorize them and for trig. So if you're moving on to take trig next year, these two triangles are so important. It's like the basis of a million sections in trig. So here is our special right triangles. I abbreviate, so there are two special. This is for right, and then I just draw the triangle symbol. So I want to go over those two. One is the 45, 45, 90, and the other is the 30, 60, 90. Remember that the sum of all three angles in a triangle have to equal 180. Now, these triangles have a very special relationship with their sides. So in a 45, 45, 90, and I'll go over the worksheet in a second. Obviously, this is my 90, and this is my 45 and 45. Now, notice I have two angles that are identical. So I'm going to upload this worksheet, and for numbers 1 through 9, I would like you to see if you can find the pattern in the sides and fill in the missing sides. So I've given you two that are already filled out, and then I start to give triangles where some of the sides are missing to see if you can fill in the missing piece. So if you want to pause this video and try this worksheet, and then push play and see if you got the same sides as I did. So in number 1, I noticed that here's my hypotenuse. I noticed that the numbers out front are all the same. I noticed that on the side that's my hypotenuse, I have a square root of 2. But I noticed that these legs are not only the same, that they're both 3, but then this also has a 3. So let's move on to this next triangle. Again, I notice a 6 in all 3, but the hypotenuse has a square root of 2 next to it. So when I move on to number 3, I know that all 3 should begin with in this case, a 4. And I'm going to add what these two had in common, right? The hypotenuse should have root 2. So notice they only wrote 145, but I know that if this is 90 and this is 45, I know that this third angle must also be a 45 because 45 and 45 make 90, and 90 plus 90 is 180. Remember, 180 is the sum of 3 interior angles in a triangle. Okay? So let's see if we can continue that pattern. And number 4, these should all start with a 10. So my legs, this is a leg, this is my hypotenuse. So they all should have the same number out front. So my legs are both 10. My hypotenuse is 10 root 2. So in number 5, I have my hypotenuse. But remember that number out front should be the same. So my legs are 7, 7. My hypotenuse, 7 root 2. Again, in number 6, this is my hypotenuse. They all should begin with the same. So my legs are 8. My hypotenuse is 8 times root 2. So if you haven't done 7, 8, 9, see if you can try those. 7's a little tricky, but there is an invisible 1 out here. So my legs are 1 and 1. Number 8. This is interesting. Usually only the hypotenuse has a root 2, but my legs do. Well, in all the others, I noticed that my hypotenuse equals whatever my leg is times root 2. Do you notice that my hypotenuse is always the leg times root 2? So then for this one, my hypotenuse would equal my leg times root 2. Well, in that case, I can multiply my legs because they both have root 2. So root 2 times root 2 is root 4, which is 3 times 2, which is 6. So this is 6. Interesting. Number 9, I know my legs should be the same, right? These have to be the same. So this one must be my leg, this is my leg, times root 2. Okay, which is 4 times root 4, which is 4 times 2, which equals 8. So that is the pattern, and I'm going to write that. So after doing several of those, I'm going to note that the pattern is your legs should be the same number. My hypotenuse should be the leg times square root of 2. So these are my legs, and I'll label. So this is my hypotenuse, this is a leg, this is a leg. So let's move on to our 30, 60, 90. Now again, they won't always write the third angle, but 90 plus 30 is 120. So this has to be our 60. 90 plus 60 is 150, so this must be 30. But they will usually only write one of them. Okay, so now these triangles have a completely different pattern because our legs are not the same. Our legs are two different numbers, but they still have a very special relationship. So I'm going to look at number 10, and I'm going to observe that I have a short leg. Here's my hypotenuse, and here is my long leg. So I'm going to go ahead and draw back to this paper. I am going to have, so here's my 90, which means this has to be 30, 60. Now I have a short leg. I have a long leg, and I have a hypotenuse. And so I'm going to see if I can find the pattern on this worksheet. So I notice in my legs, I have the same number out front, 2 and 2. But instead of root 2, I have a root 3, a root 3, a root 3. Okay, so 30, 60, 90 involves a root 3. That's how I remember. 30, 60, 90, 30 has a root 3. Okay, so I just added that to remember it. Now notice, what is the relationship between 2 and 4? Short leg and long leg here, 5 and 10, and 6 and 12. What do you notice about your short leg and your hypotenuse? Short leg and your hypotenuse. What relationship do they have when you look at all three? So short leg is SL, long leg, hypotenuse. I notice that it's double. 2 times 2 is 4, 5 times 2 is 10, 6 times 2 is 12. So I notice that the short leg and the hypotenuse have a relationship that one is half the size of the other, or the hypotenuse is doubled. Then I notice that relationship between the short leg and the long leg, there's just a root 3 here. So moving on to 13, these should be the same because this is my short leg, this is my long leg, but this, my hypotenuse, equals 2 times the short leg. So this should be 6. It should be double the little leg. So if this is 4, my hypotenuse is 8 because 4 times 2 equals 8. So this one is working backwards. If the hypotenuse is 24, then this should only be 12. Now I notice in all of these, the long leg should be our long leg equals our short leg times root 3. So our short leg here is 4, so this should be 4 root 3. Our short leg is 12, so this is 12 root 3. So that is the pattern. We have our short leg. This would be 2 times our short leg. This would be our short leg times root 3. And so that is the pattern that we're going to use to do our lesson practice, which is on page 374. And I believe in your book is slightly different than I believe mine. Okay, so let's see if I think our books are different. This is what I have. I have all right, so for part A, I noticed that this is a 30, 60, 90. I noticed that they told me this is 90, so this is our short leg. This is my hypotenuse. This is my long leg. Now, they're not asking for my long leg. They're asking for my hypotenuse. And based on my worksheet and my pattern, I know that my short leg is half the size of my hypotenuse. So if my short leg is 10, then x is 20. Part B is a 45, 45, 90. So they said that this is 45. I know this is 90. They gave me P, and this is 5 root 2. So I know this must be a 45, 45, 90. And so that means my legs should be the same. And my hypotenuse is 5 root 2. So I know that these are my legs, and they both must be 5 because it's that number out front. So P equals 5. Now this is where my book differs from you. So I don't have the picture for part C. The book here on campus is an older version. But I know that my hypotenuse is 2 times the short leg. And I know my long leg is the short leg times root 3. So they gave me the hypotenuse, which is 18. So I know that my short leg, which they told me is letter Y, should be half of that. So I know Y is 9. Now, long leg, they gave me the letter X, and that should be my short leg, which I just found. So Y times root 3. So X equals 9 times root 3. Now, part D is a picture that they drew. So they told me I've got this. I think my book has a picture. I'm hoping yours does. And they've got like a person standing here. And it said that this is a 45-degree angle. So it is asked, oh, and it also says that I am this is 2.4 feet. The boy is flying a kite, and the kite forms a 45-degree angle. Find the height of the kite. So they want this height here. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. I should move that up. So they would like this height, and they told me that this right here is 18 root 2. Well, if this is a 45, 45, that means that from here to here is 18, and from here to here is 18. So I know it's 18, but I have to add the height of the boy because it wants to know the length of how far away it is from the ground. So that would be 20.4 feet. And that is it for this section.